on the Science of Mind magazine show, where we have this. Hi, everybody. It's lovely to see you on the Science of Mind show, where we have this amazing opportunity to talk to musicians and authors and artists and people who are making a difference in the world. And I am Barbara Bew. I am one of the managers here at Centers for Spiritual Living, get to work on this beautiful staff. And today I get to speak to Linda Carroll, who is the author of a book. She's a therapist and author of a book called Love Skills: The Keys to Unlocking Lasting, Wholehearted Love. And I thought that in this time where we're having so much beautiful time together at home during the COVID experience, that it'd be a good time to talk about navigating some of the challenges of love skills. So welcome, Linda. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Hi.
So how wholehearted love, could you define that? What is that?
It's complicated because we have so much, I think we have a lot of buzz in our culture about words like wholehearted and soulmate and unconditional and mindful. And people, I think, get an image of wholehearted is that this open sort of, oh, I'm totally present and I'm totally available. I think wholehearted means everything. It means that when you love, when you're wholehearted, you are in touch with what gets in the way of wholehearted. You're in touch of where you're closed-hearted, where you're half-hearted, where you're cold-hearted. You are in touch with that wholehearted involves everything. It involves the days where you feel angry or disappointed or sad, and it allows for all of it, rather than just one sort of the red heart with a smiley face is not what I'm talking about with wholehearted. It means that we are whole people, and whole people have a range of experiences and feelings, and never have I been more in touch with that than during the last few months.
So you talk in your book about that wholeheartedness, and that idea of wholeheartedness being not just how you recognize yourself, but then how you recognize your partner, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because wholehearted also means that I think the hardest thing or one of the hardest things in a relationship is understanding that you're not me. And when we fall in love in that first mergy, goopy stage,
Oh,
the way that you're not me is so delicious. You know, you love camping, I love opera. Isn't it great? We bring the whole together. But then after we go through the power struggle and we're back to just being two humans and being with another person, you're not me starts to be annoying. Then you're put in a pandemic and in quarantine, and you're not me starts making people crazy. I have clients that live in a condo back east that I work with online, and the man is a man and a woman, and the man is a real introvert and the woman is the extrovert of the world. And he has made a space in this tiny little condo in a tiny little closet that's his. And I've worked with him to work this out. He actually has a little sign that says in the closet, and she doesn't go in because she just thinks, oh, we're together, let's talk. And he is like, oh my God, give me a break. And so the ways that you're not me, part of wholehearted is, can I embrace the whole of our differences, the whole of who I am with all my proclivities and feelings, and the whole of you? Can I allow for it? Sometimes embrace is a little much. Can I allow for it?
Yeah, sometimes embrace is just way too much word, right? So you have a chapter. So your book, I love your book because it's outlined as exercises that people can do together. It has real, actual practical application tools, things you can do. So you can look on there's a link on this Facebook page to her book if you are interested in it. But so chapter 15 is called Conflict: Everyday Squabbles, Big Troubles, and Intractable Differences. Now, I would think that everything in this experience where people are more at home together is amplified, and that there might be people who have some everyday squabbles or some big troubles who are starting to think that they are intractable differences.
Yes, that's
What kind of words of wisdom could you give people right now during this to just bring it down?
Don't make any decisions till this is over.
Well, gosh, that could be a year from now.
Yeah, I know.
And you're still saying, don't make any decision.
Don't make any decisions, because we, under stress, one of the most common, people have two themes. They come to me as a love coach or a therapist. We're not in love anymore is the first, and the other is we don't communicate. And what I see is two very articulate people, both each communicating what's wrong. And what they're really talking about is communication under stress. When we communicate under stress, we're using a different part of our brain. It's like the lights go out in the responsive, reasonable part, and the lights go on in the reactive part of the brain. And communication under stress, we're under reaction all the time. And things, so I love news. I watch the news all the time. The news makes me calm, no matter how bad it is. I know we're still alive on the world, in the planet. My husband reads one newspaper in the day, and he reads at the end of the day. He hates the news. He says it makes him anxious, upset. How do we work that out? Well, we have a big house. That's one way we work it out. And we have we've worked for decades on differentiation. So we have some acceptance. But his way would make I'd be anxious all the time. Is the planet still here? For him, seeing it come in all the time makes him anxious. So we have to find a way, if we live together, how do we cope? I want to talk about what's going on a lot. He wants to work in the garden, grow a tomato, paint a watercolor. And so who's wrong? Let me ask you, who's right? And this is what
there you go. That's a good
we
question.
do the things that calm us and that make us feel better. I have a newsletter, and I wrote a newsletter about a friend of mine who was sending me pictures of swans, and they were meditations of beautiful swans, and she would send me these ongoing meditations, and I would start to feel, after a while, I tried them, they made me so anxious, and I would just turn on Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and I would feel calm, because at the end of that program,
Something's resolved.
this beautiful Olivia takes care of all the victims and puts the bad people away. And every 40 minutes, she handles it. They're all put away, and I can go to sleep. I can go to sleep secure. My friend wants beautiful swans, but that only makes me agitated. But if I said to her, watch Law and Order Special Victims Unit, she would think I was crazy. So a big heart has to allow for our differences, and everyday squabbles are getting more intense, because those differences, actually, what I may do to calm myself may make my partner even more anxious. So including, as I talked about, the man in the closet, extroversion, introversion, people who want to talk about the trouble, people who want to do a painting.
So if we can look at the question from a less personal standpoint of, instead of saying you don't like what I like, it's what is it that calms you and what is it that calms me, and can we find respect in those spaces?
Yeah, and not judge each
That's
other.
a really different question. What calms you is a very different question than, why don't you like to do this thing that I like to do?
Yeah. It is a different
If we don't
question.
get anything else today, that is a beautiful question.
But it's all within the same frame of, you're not me. And we fell in love with each other because you're not me. But when we're in a pandemic, you're not me becomes a problem. And,
right.
And so how do we do that? Patience, a lot of support, doing the things that nurture us, and not judging what I need from what my partner needs. That's really important. Some people need a lot of connection, and other people would rather just go be with their thoughts and walk in the hills. Mm-hmm. So finding those differences, I guess another trouble during this time, intractable differences. I mean, from troubles to intractable differences have to do with issues of safety. That's another thing I'm seeing a lot. Somebody who, how we deal with mask wearing and social distancing. And if you're living with another person, everything they do affects you. Mm-hmm. And for some people, it exaggerates the part of you that just wants to put not to drink Clorox, please, but who wants to put, you know, who wants to wash everything down and look and sees germs everywhere, is often with someone that'll push that limit into, well, we don't really need a mask when we're out walking on a trail. And if you're in, I think that there's a continuum, and some of the continuum is really you know, it's not what I'm talking about healthy continuum. How do you work that out? How do you work out somebody that I mean, that's another thing. I'm listening to people who have those differences. One person who is risk adverse is with a person who pushes the limits risk wise, but doesn't dangle off cliffs, but pushes it. In a pandemic, that becomes exaggerated like everything else. So those differences may come to everyday hassles, and squabbles may be intractable differences. And how do you work that out?
Well, and it seems like this is a good time for the less cautious of us to lean in and just be kind and respectful of the people who are more cautious, you know, because you can't lose there. You know?
Well, you can lose if you're oppositional, if you don't like being told what to do, if you're in a power struggle in your relationship and you think, I mean, what you say is so reasonable, I'm going to cut that and send it out to all my people on my newsletter and my clients. Because yes, the people who are less cautious should learn. I agree with you. But if you're a person who thinks that it's ridiculous, who doesn't want to be told what to do, that is, and I mean, what I advise people to do is to go to a sort of a middle of the road place like the CDC or the Red Cross and follow those rules. But even those rules we can push out a little bit. You know, I was my best friend came by, and we were walking socially distant with our dogs, or our dogs are siblings. We were taking a walk together, and then we started getting more. We didn't have masks. This was about a month ago, and we began to, and everything was starting to get better. We were relaxing. Okay. And we were walking and we were talking about something very intense, as we do. And suddenly I noticed that we're closer together. We're about just much closer. And then I had this thought, and I couldn't believe the thought. The thought was, oh, it's okay. It's Deb. This is fine. As though because she's my best friend, neither one of us couldn't be carrying the virus. And I said, oh my gosh, I just had this thought, like it couldn't happen to us because. And I think that's something we have to, some people are on alert a lot more than others. So I get relaxed. I need somebody to remind me to be on alert more. But then if you're too much on alert, it's another trouble. So everyday squabbles can become intractable differences on a dime in this situation.
So we have a few minutes left. So tell me, because I think this might really lean into this. What is the pause? You have you talk a lot about the pause and the big five and the pause. What is the pause?
The pause is the cornerstone of mindfulness, which is learning to take a moment before we react so that we can learn to respond. In meditation retreats, all different kinds of meditation retreats, often they'll ring a bell during the day, and whatever you're doing, you put down your fork or your shovel, whatever it is that your book, and you take a moment, you close your eyes and you breathe in. Who am I? You feel your feelings, you notice your thoughts, you relax your body. And often, one of the things I say about that, often the intensity with which we feel a need to say something to another person often is the opposite of the wisdom in doing that right then. Taking a pause and backing off and saying, just a minute, letting it go. We can do that for 5 seconds, and it can avoid a whole mess with another person.
And there you go. Mindfulness wraps everything up.
It does.
It wraps everything up.
Counterintuitive.
If you're looking for the book, this is what the book looks like. Love Skills, The Keys to Unlocking Lasting Wholehearted Love by Linda Carroll. Linda, thank you so much. I mean, really, there's some really good stuff in here. She even talks about sex in the book. We didn't get to that part because sex and COVID, who knows what could happen there.
Or not happen.
Thank you, or not happen, as the case may be. Thank you so much for joining me today on this. It's been a pleasure. I want to remind everybody, this is the last week that you can get the digital subscription to the Science of Mind magazine for only $9.95 a year. That's $9.95, which is so ridiculously low that I can't believe they're doing that. Love Skills offers a do-it-yourself version of a highly effective workshop program, which you have been co-teaching with your husband for 25 years, and you can do it on your own or find her website and get on her newsletter and unlock your own wholehearted love. I look forward to taking this home actually and playing with it at home with my wife. So thank you very much. And we will come back next week, next Tuesday at this very same time for the next interview series. And blessings all.
Thanks.